Hello and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Ayşe Süberker. After months of uncertainty, Istanbul finally has a new mayor. Millions took part in the June 23rd election rerun after an earlier vote back in March was annulled over irregularities. But this time around, there was no ambiguity. As the early results were coming in, the ruling AK Parti's candidate Binali Yıldırım congratulated his opponent Ekrem İmamoğlu on his electoral win. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan also congratulated the new mayor on Twitter. İmamoğlu returned the pleasantries by saying he was ready to work in harmony with the current government. And it wasn't just the country's political leaders who were sending positive messages. The Lira opened higher against the US dollar and stocks rallied following the election results. But is this a sign that investor confidence is returning? Are they optimistic that with no elections due until 2023, the government will now be more focused on addressing issues like unemployment and inflation? And to discuss that, joining me now is Taha Arvas, who is a journalist at Daily Sabah, and Sedat Aybar, who is the head of Economy and Finance Department at Istanbul Aydin University. Gentlemen, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you here. Taha, I want to start with you. The Turkish economy hasn't been in the best of its shapes for various reasons, but now we have a 4-year span until next election. So what should be expected? What kind of policies we're going to see in local and national level between that time?
I think what's interesting is recently the global financial system has taken a pause now. Last week, Chairman Powell of the Federal Reserve came out with an explanation of what the FOMC committee believes what will happen between now and the next 2 years. And they said that they believe that the United States economy will slow, if not stop, between now and 2020. So what they're going to do is they will begin to slowly but surely decrease interest rates 4 times between now and the next 18 months here. And this has brought a breath of fresh air, frankly, for both the Turkish economy and for other emerging markets.
So what kind of measures are to be taken for Turkish economy in the short run?
So many things. Turkey is a very important country. It's very strong. It has a lot of economic power, but it is dependent on the global financial market. So that's essentially what I was referring to. There are steps that Turkey can take and is taking, but more important than Ankara's policy, absolutely, is what comes out of the Federal Reserve in Washington and at the ECB level.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the foreign investors' view on that. But Sedat, it was after the High Election Board's announcement of the official results, and President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan said now it is time to focus on the real agenda. What is the real agenda? Is it the economy? Is it the foreign policy issues?
Indeed, that's local elections, and the election spree that we put behind is giving us some space to breathe. And indeed, as the President mentions, it's time to focus on the real issues, and economy is the real issue. As my esteemed friend has mentioned, Turkish economy has been going through some kind of difficulty lately, and this is in line with what is happening in the world. Now, Turkey is going to concentrate, focus on the trade war that has been going on between the United States and China, and not only that, but also with other powers as well. So in that regard, the brainstorms taking place throughout this process in the G20 and afterwards or thereabouts is very, very important for Turkey. Real issue is the economy, yes, but also real issue is democracy and rule of law in Turkey. So these are intermingling issues, and Turkey is going to concentrate on upgrading its stance within these areas, and will come up with policies that enables Turkey to deal with challenges in this region, challenges in this geography, but also challenges vis-a-vis Turkey's targets for 2023, that Turkey aims to become within the first 10 largest economies in the world.
Okay, Taha, Turkish lira modestly climbed as trading began on Monday. So is this trend likely to continue? What does it tell us?
I think so. I think, like I said in the earlier line of questioning, what's important here is what our other currencies will be doing. And so we see global dollar weakness recently. So it was less about the Turkish lira gaining, frankly, than it was about the dollar weakening. Because the dollar weakened broadly against all other currencies with these new announcements from the Fed and other members of the committee. There are now members of the committee that are saying they would like to see a policy cut now, and that are saying we should not have delayed at the last meeting. So these are all messages to the global market. That
But
says,
isn't it also a sign of investor confidence in Turkey's future, let's say?
I mean, if Turkey did not move with all the other currencies that we're talking about, then it would be a negative for investor confidence. But as far as investor confidence goes, we've seen fund flows into Turkey from the beginning of May, frankly, even before the recent Istanbul election, and it's just been increasing steadily since early May. People need to park their money somewhere. If they don't see growth in Europe, if they don't see growth in the United States,
They'll come to Turkey?
And they'll invest elsewhere in emerging markets, and they have. And that's why there's...
Despite some international rating agencies' reports, which
Sure.
drew some grim pictures of Turkish economy?
Yeah, I don't think any investor worth their salary waits for rating agencies to come out with reports. Other than investment grade or non-investment grade, those reports are lagging news. They are data that has been gathered in the last 3 months, 6 months, et cetera. But we're talking about now, and investors now in May and June increase their exposure to Turkish equities and bonds because they know that this is where the returns are.
Okay, Sedat, so what does this election result mean for President Recep Tayyip Erdogan domestically and internationally?
Okay, as we've just spoken about the real issues, the economy and politics, this election result is going to enable a central authority and a AKP government with its alliances is going to be able to help the government governing the country and dealing with some of the contentious issues within the political sphere. And this local election in Istanbul is going to help and contribute to that governability of the country. It's going to ease up tensions after this, because if you realize what happened after the election result was announced by the Supreme Election Board, Binali Yıldırım, the AKP's candidate,
yes.
He congratulated the winner.
And also President Erdogan was so quick to congratulate İmamoğlu, and then İmamoğlu said he is ready to work in harmony with the national government. So how important is a working relation between a mayor and a national government?
Istanbul is a very important city. I mean, when this has been underlined many, many times, as far as the economy is concerned, it is very important. It produces almost 1/3 of Turkey's GDP, but also in terms of employment provider, in terms of regional pool that the city has, it's extremely important for the Turkish economy. But also politically it's important because this is a kind of melting pot. Not only many cities in Turkey represented by their population that has arrived in Istanbul, but also international migration receiving city this is. Therefore, those, as far as politics and economics is concerned, Istanbul is the running of Istanbul and allying it, or putting an alliance or building a line up to the Ankara, it's extremely important for running all the country. This is, those two areas are actually, they melt down in around that collaboration that has been Turkey looking for some time.
So we have to leave it here. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me on Straight Talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.